All right, looks like we're ready to start. Thanks for joining us today, and welcome to 5 LinkedIn Secrets for Job-Seeking Veterans. If you've already checked in via Twitter, welcome aboard. If you haven't, head over to twitter.com/RecruitMilitary and let us know you're here. Our handle is @RecruitMilitary. My name is Liz Wheeler. I'm the social media manager here at RecruitMilitary. Joining me today for this webinar is Sudhi Bharadwaj, founder and CEO of Jackalope Jobs. We've put together a really great presentation for you based off of our joint experience with veteran hiring, with veteran job seekers, and with social networking. I'm very excited to share the information with you today. Combined, we have had a lot of experience in this area. RecruitMilitary has been hosting job fairs specifically for military veterans for the past 8 years. We've hosted 560 events around the country. 18,182 companies and organizations have attended to hire veterans, as well as 343,816 veterans. We are asked a lot about how many of these veterans have found jobs at our job fairs, and we're proud to say that on average, as a result of each one of our job fairs, over 100 job fairs are extended to veterans. That's for each event. This year, in 2014, we're hosting a total of 67 events, so you can do the math. You can also visit events.recruitmilitary.com to find a job fair close to you. We hold them in most major cities around the country. Also, I encourage you to register in our resume database at www.recruitmilitary.com. It's another great resource you can utilize during your job search. It puts your skills and experience, both military and civilian, in front of the eyes of employers who are looking to hire you. Our partner today for this webinar is Jackalope Jobs. The mission of Jackalope Jobs is to help 4 million people find a job by 2020. It's a very unique approach to hiring. Their specialty is the use of social media, such as LinkedIn, to help people find jobs, and because of that, they work 100% with job seekers, which is a different and unique approach compared to a traditional recruiting firm. So far, Jackalope Jobs has helped tens of thousands of job seekers connect with opportunities, and they're adding to that number each day. You can learn more about them at jackalopejobs.com. Based off of our combined experience, we do have a great presentation for you today about how to utilize LinkedIn during your job search. In just a second, I'm going to turn over the reins to Sudhi to discuss in detail these 5 secrets. But I want to mention first that throughout the webinar, if you have questions or comments, please use the chat feature on the toolbar on the right side of the screen. We'll be monitoring all the comments throughout the webinar, and at the end, we'll have a live question and answer session where we're happy to answer any questions you have. On that note, I'm happy to introduce you to Sudhi Bharadwaj, founder and CEO of Jackalope Jobs. Sudhi? Oh, looks like his audio might not be working. Sudhi, are you there?
Hi, Liz. Thank you. Can you? I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can now.
Hello. Okay, great. Does this sound okay then?
I think it is. If you guys can hear, go ahead and click yes in the chat box. Yeah, just a little one.
We'll do a quick testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Okay, looks like it's working. Take it away.
Okay, great. Thanks. And if you can go into full screen mode or PowerPoint show mode.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Liz. And I just want to say that I'm very flattered to talk to you all. First of all, thank you all for the veterans out there, those that are in service, out of service, however long you've been in or out. Just thank you again for your service to our country. And I'm real flattered that I can provide what we do for veterans and others. And also provide today's topic for you to help you out in your transition to where you want to go next. My name is Sudhi Bharadwaj, and we only have about 30 minutes for this webinar, so forget the last name. We'll just go with the first name, Sudhi, S-U-D-Y. Let's go to the next slide. Today we'll be talking about 3 basic things on the agenda. We'll talk about the 5 secrets. Then, taking on those secrets, we'll provide some quick recommendations and then some actions. And these actions are based on, some of you may look at the secrets and you may know those. Some of you may look at those for the first time. We've probably helped this year alone, probably have talked to about 500 veterans on all shapes and sizes and types. And these 5 secrets really is an aggregation of what I've noticed out there for some of the questions and some of the things we've been able to do to help out. So I've taken some of the learnings over the past year and applied that to those secrets. We'll go to the next one. So the first question is, why 5? Well, for me, it's easy to count on one hand. But honestly, there are so many things you can do with any sort of a social media, with any technology, and any job search. There's a lot of different things. We, again, in talking to veterans and looking at their LinkedIn profiles and understanding where they're trying to go in their career, I've kind of tried to focus on the top 5 that I've heard. There are certainly out there. There are certainly more secrets out there than we can count on one hand, but this way we at least can boil it down. And certainly in the chat and the questions, please feel free to ask anything, and we can try to help you out with those other secrets as well. We'll go to the next one. So secret number 1, first question I get asked is, well, do I really need to use LinkedIn? Is LinkedIn necessary? And the answer for the most part is absolutely. Why is that? Well, 94% of all employers use LinkedIn. This is from a survey done last year by a company called JobVite of about 3,000 employers. Amongst those 3,000 employers, 94% of them use LinkedIn for some reason. 96% of those employers surveyed use LinkedIn for searching for candidates, 94% for contacting, 92% for vetting. And what that means is they're going into the candidate's profile and try to get a better understanding of, is this candidate the right candidate, looking for common connections, looking for recommendations. That's what vetting means. And 93% is also for keeping tabs. Maybe they want to know if you already switched jobs. Maybe they want to see if you've updated anything and where you're going or what you're trying to do. But fundamentally, most employers use LinkedIn to find candidates. So while some people out there may or may not appreciate LinkedIn, at least being on LinkedIn puts you on even ground with most of the population. We'll go to the next one. Second secret is, yep, veterans are using LinkedIn. Whether you're in service, out of service, they're all over the place. I did a quick study last week, and we can do a build here, of the number of veterans that list these branches of the military as their past company. Let's go ahead and do the next slide, Liz, or the next build. There you go. So what this showed is I found 319,170 members on LinkedIn who indicated that they served in the U.S. Army. There you see the numbers again, 251,000 in the Navy, 239 in the Air Force, 149 in the Marines, 21,000 in the Coast Guard. All told, 980,000 that I found. And what's interesting is when I looked at, I did these statistics last week. Monday, when I looked at the statistics again, another 400 joined from the U.S. Army joined. So that number became about 319,500 something. What I really wanted to do was, if that number exceeded 1 million, which I don't think it would, I wanted to put that out there. But right now we're almost at 1 million past veterans who served in these branches in LinkedIn. Now, those numbers are pretty interesting. When you think about LinkedIn having about 300,000, that's only 0.3%. So the question becomes, that's a lot of needles and a lot of haystacks, and some big, big haystacks. So let's dig into that a little bit and see where you can really be effective. On the next slide, we did a little more research and a little more detail. And I just picked some random companies. You can pick various companies as well. But this is showing how many veterans by branch are in these 6 different companies. And Liz, let's go to the next slide. And we can highlight a few just for fun. This is showing that there are 731 Army veterans who currently work at AT&T. AT&T has 380 Marines. That's 380 Semper Fi's out there at AT&T. At Capital One, we have 112 from the Navy. At Accenture, 160 in the Air Force. All told, if you look at those 6 companies, there are 664 veterans from the Marine Corps. That's 664 Semper Fi's in 6 companies we can leverage. So when you get down to it, and you can even break it down further, in Capital One, that last number at the bottom, 338, that's 338 veterans from these 5 branches who currently work at Capital One. All told, 6 companies, all 5 branches, 4,289 veterans are in these companies. So you go from 300 million in LinkedIn to almost 1 million veterans to 6 companies of 4,289 to 731 Army veterans at AT&T. Now that's how you focus your world. So when you really look at the secret, veterans are on LinkedIn, employers use LinkedIn. Now we need to find who they are and how we can work with them. Let's go to the next one. A lot of people think, well, I'm on LinkedIn, but I only have a few connections. What do I do? Well, certainly your goal is to try to get the right connections. A lot of people say, well, how many do I need? And it's really a quality, not quantity metric. You really need, it's good to have good number of connections, but it's really the quality of those connections. So just an example, though, is if you only have 3 connections, your network is actually bigger than you think. Because if you just have these 3, and one of those friends has 88 connections, that's what they call a second degree to you. So what it is you have a friend, and they have 88 connections. Those 88 are your second degree connections. That's part of your network. Now adding up the next 2 friends, they have, one of them has 750, the other has 200. Amongst those 3 friends, their second degree contains 1,038 connections. It's a lot more than you thought. When you start to add up, let's go to the next one, when you add up your first degree and your second degree, it gets real interesting. You have 1,041 first and second degree connections. LinkedIn actually considers your network a little differently. LinkedIn considers your network your first, second, and third, and the groups that you belong to. So a lot of people will say, I have, I think last time I checked, because of my thousands of connections, I have about 15.6 million in my network. Again, nice, but so your network really is bigger than you thought, and that's something you need to take into consideration. Now let's talk a little bit about your profile. Let's go to the next one. A lot of people think their picture, do I need a picture? And the answer is absolutely. One statistic that LinkedIn's provided is a picture with a profile is 7 times more likely to be viewed than one without. So if you have a picture, it's going to be looked at. However, the picture needs to be appropriate. I've seen too many, I met a job seeker, a veteran, great guy, finance, been tour duty in Iraq, has been in the workforce 7 years. So very solid experience. When I met him, he was very professional, really sharp. I looked at his LinkedIn profile, and I was like, you could be on The Walking Dead because you look like a zombie. Well, yeah, that was a picture at a party and blah, blah, blah. Well, you got to take your picture much more seriously. So your profile picture needs to be much more important. And again, unless you're interviewing for The Walking Dead or interviewing for, some role like that, your profile picture needs to be a lot more professional. That profile on the right of your screen is the actual actor who played the zombie on the left. I don't know if we have a lot of Walking Dead fans out there, but I'd love to hear that. If you're a Walking Dead fan, go ahead and hit in the chat and let us know that you're a Walking Dead fan. Now let's go to the next one. So on your profile picture, some people say, well, do I need to be in a suit? Do I need to be as dressed up to the nines? And the answer is possibly, maybe. I would always say it's whatever is appropriate for what you're trying to accomplish. If you're trying to get a pretty good office job, accounting, what have you, you don't necessarily need to be in a suit, but a nice shirt, coat, what have you, a nice outfit is good. Here we have one of my friends, Tracy. She's a yoga instructor, and she's doing something very appropriate for her profession. Me, I'm about 230 pounds. You're not going to see me doing a lot of yoga, so I could not do that kind of move. That sounds like that would injure me. That looks like it would injure me. But she's showing something very appropriate to her profession. Our next profile example, just a beautiful picture of a makeup artist. If you're a makeup artist, you need to be showing that you are going to put somebody in the best possible light, the best possible position. And this shows that. Lighting's perfect. Her hair is perfect. One earring showing. All the makeup out there is just beautiful. Other kinds of artists get interesting too. So we have another artist, a tattoo artist. Well, if you want to be a tattoo artist, you better be showing some tattoos. Now, again, may not be someone we want to take home to mom. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't. But key thing is you need to be showing what's appropriate for your profession. You probably don't want to be in a suit if you're a tattoo artist. My last example is if you want to be the lead singer for Iron Maiden, you better play the part. So again, it's all about the role. Most of the time, again, I always preach that you want to be as professional as possible. That's appropriate for what your profession is. That's the key thing. One question I'd like to add right now before we go on to the next slide is in the chat or in the questions, we'd love to know what companies you're interested in. You know, when I put the list of companies out there, I had 6 companies. Let's get a little poll out there and seeing what companies are out there that you all are looking at or targeting for your job search. If it's unknown, I'd love to know that too. That's an important piece of information we'd like to look at. So go ahead and in the chat, do that. And we can go to the next slide. And actually in the chat, tell me if you're an Iron Maiden fan. I want to know because that's one of my favorite bands. The last secret we have here is that LinkedIn actually gets you closer. This is all about networking. In the industry, we've done some surveys, and it turns out that on average, you have to fill out, the job seeker needs to complete 30 job applications to get 1 interview. That's 30 times you go online, 30 times you go to a place, sit in the line, fill out a form, hand it in, and that might get you 1 interview. Users that have used a social platform, our platform combined with LinkedIn, only had to do 11 interviews to get 1 application. And then, of course, the successful ones that actually landed a job only had to do 5.3. One of my most common quoted pieces of advice is don't apply to a job right away. Reach out to your friends. You will go online or you will go and apply eventually, but they can at least save your time, put your name down ahead of time, and so on. There are many, many companies that offer internal referral bonuses when you refer a candidate for an opening. And you want to try to get your network to take advantage of that. And that's where items like LinkedIn and even Facebook, for that matter, can get you much closer to your job just by leveraging that. I'd love to have a second question, if you don't mind. Have you filled out applications? And if you have a feel for about how many applications you take to get 1 interview, I'd love to see that number from this audience just to see if it's higher or lower than the average. I've had job seekers that have had to fill out 75 applications to get 1 interview. We had one job seeker that filled out 150 job applications and got 2 interviews. So it's a challenge out there, and with things like LinkedIn and social job search platforms like ours, that reduces that workload, and that's really the value prop everyone needs to understand when you start connecting to your friends. And we can go to the next one. Liz, are we getting any decent responses?
We are. We have a whole list of companies, and I think your statistics are pretty accurate. It seems like the most common answer is about 20 to 30 applications for 1 interview.
Okay.
Some
good.
even more. We have a couple of answers of over 50.
Hey, the ones that are getting under 20, I want to meet and get their secrets. That's good. When you're better than the average, lower in this case is good. So when you're lower than 30, that's always good. There's a lot of secrets, a lot more secrets out there, and you know, I could probably do webinars every day for hours on the different secrets, but the key takeaway for everyone is LinkedIn needs to be an integral part of your job search. It needs to be an important piece. Now, how? So let's talk a little bit about some recommendations and some quick actions we can take if you're new or even if you've been around LinkedIn. Well, even if you've been around, review your profile again, especially your picture. I'll just give you a funny story. I started this company a few years ago, and I consider myself pretty good at LinkedIn. Well, I changed my profile to LinkedIn and said, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to, this is what I'm doing. I'm in stealth mode. I got a startup. I'm trying to do this thing. Well, of course, I launched my product. Got a lot of people in LinkedIn looking at me. And, of course, I was still in stealth mode, and somebody came back to me and says, hey, you need to change your profile. So even me, people that are experts out there, sometimes you forget, so I'm just encouraging everyone, review your profile, make sure it's up to date. If you are just transitioning, you landed your first job, now you're looking for your second one, you can review your profile, and of course the ever important picture to show who you are, what you convey. Next one is we have some good targeted employers, as Liz said, so I'd recommend start getting connected to them. There's ways you can search, and I can take you through that. But really, you want to start connecting to veterans in your target employers. The third one, which I'll go into more detail, is take the time to learn how best you can leverage LinkedIn. You know, it kind of reminds me when you get a first car, you do actually want to drive it, but sometimes you sit there and you want to know, hey, where are the wipers? You know, how do I mess with the radio? How do I mess with the right type of a sound? And you know, where's the rear defrost, and things like that. So LinkedIn has some similar things. You just want to take the time to understand how best you can leverage it. And some of those things, and we'll go to the next one, you can actually learn how to leverage LinkedIn is, it's what I call create the best first impression. We're going to talk about that on the next slide, but that's important, is make sure you realize what is your best first impression. We'll talk about that. In LinkedIn, you can put your skills in a special section. What are your skills? Project management, mechanic, security, lots of different things, accounting, finance. Put those in there because those are searchable items. Search for people. Learn to search for people in LinkedIn. We can take you through that in a later session, but that's a real important skill to have, is who are the veterans? Who are those 731 veterans at AT&T? Who's somebody that I can talk to that I may have even served with? Learn also to join groups and research those groups. So there are tons of groups out there on LinkedIn. One that I saw that has thousands of members is a group called Connected Marines. So many of these groups are out there. You want to be careful, and that's why I say research, because you want to make sure you're joining an active group that's relevant to your cause, and they're relevant for you. Sometimes groups are out there and people are trying to sell you stuff and just post jobs, which posting jobs might be a good thing, but you just want to make sure it's providing the right content and the right information for you. Last and not least is learn to connect to people. LinkedIn automatically has a phrase, and I get this all the time, I'd like to connect with you on LinkedIn. Well, I think it's important, especially if you're a Marine, if you're a military veteran, to indicate, hey, Ranger, I served in the 75th, would love to engage with you, requesting your help on your company. Things like that make it a little more personal and give the requestee, the person you're trying to connect to, a better reason to talk to you. Just like your resume, you get one shot at your first impression. Also, the key thing about LinkedIn, your profile should improve over time. People go in there and always want to look at that. You can change your settings so that if you change your job, you get a notification to your friends that you just got a job. That's always good for your next job. It shows that you're very employable. Now, on your first impression on the next slide, it's what I call the high five. What's seen first? When a recruiter is searching, they're looking for a specific type of role in a location. I'm looking for a project manager in Seattle. Well, they're going to see a list of people with their high five, and that's what they're going to see. So I've highlighted mine, and they're going to see first thing is your picture and your name, your headline, your industry, your location, and your pedigree. So people ask me, why'd you combine picture and name? Well, I couldn't come up with a cute way to say high six, so I combined the both of them to call it the high five. But that's your picture and name. Your headline is real important. A lot of people, I had an Army Ranger who had a headline of parachute instructor. That's a great headline because that's what he's doing today. Well, what do you want to do? Well, I'd like to be a project manager. He's got a college degree, had a great leadership experience. I said, let's change your headline to aspiring project manager who can jump out of airplanes. So project manager is a key word, but then if somebody's looking at 10 profiles, hey, who's this guy that jumps out of airplanes? Always interesting. So again, you want to be careful that it's not too controversial, but you want to have something that's out there. That's your headline. Your industry, there's usually a drop-down list, but you want to basically find the most relevant industry for where you're at. Location is very important. Most people do search by location, and sometimes I get the question of, well, what if I want to live somewhere else? Put that in your location, because that's really where you're gunning for. You're looking for jobs in there. So if you live in Dallas but want to move to New York, put down New York. If you're not sure of the location, I get this question a lot, my suggestion is every week change your location and see what type of results you get. The last item in your high five is what I call your pedigree. Your pedigree is real important. It's a combination of who you are professionally. It's a combination of your work experience, your military experience, and or your educational experience. So that's your pedigree. So some of those may be more relevant for your profession than others, but it's important that people understand, you know, you went to this school, you were served in this branch, and you've also worked in this company. Or you've been to the school, served in this branch, or here's your branch. You know, kids out of college, people just that are transitioning right out of the military, that's your pedigree. That's fine. Your pedigree should improve over time. And that's creating your best first impression. We'll go to the next slide. And that's it. I'm going to turn it over to Liz.
Thanks so much, Sudi. That was very great information. We'll start the question and answer session in just a second. Before that, be sure to check out Recruit Military's Facebook page, Twitter page, and website at www.recruitmilitary.com. events.recruitmilitary.com. We have a schedule of events around the country at events.recruitmilitary.com. Also, be sure to check out Jackalope Jobs website at jackalopejobs.com for more information from Sudi. Okay, now for the question and answer. On the right side of the page, you can expand the Go to Webinar toolbar by clicking the orange arrow at the top. Once it's opened, you should see a box for comments and questions. You can submit your comments and questions there. Sudi and I are the only ones who can see who's asking what questions, so don't be shy about asking. Go right ahead whenever you're ready. Okay, great questions already. This question is from Peter. He says, I love the concept of finding veterans in companies. What if I don't know any specific companies? Sudi, you want to field that one?
Yeah, good question. So, you know, at the broadest level, if you just want a starting point, then my favorite thing is Google. So I would simply Google top 100 places to work in, then your location. So top 100 places to work in Minneapolis, whatever city you want to target. If it's a small city, you may say top 10. If you don't even know the city, then let's go for the big ones, New York, Los Angeles, because you're going to get global companies, top 100 places to work in New York. Then take those 100, and you may want to eliminate the obvious ones. As an example, if we don't like banking, great, eliminate banking. And now you have at least a target list, and I always say focus on your top 10. Just think of the first 10 you want. If you don't have any priorities, just take the first 10 from that list and start targeting those veterans in those companies.
Sounds good. I'm going to field this one from Dennis. Dennis asked, can this PowerPoint presentation be saved to a file on my computer? Dennis, we will be uploading this entire webinar onto YouTube and onto SlideShare. If you check back on Recruit Military's Facebook page or LinkedIn page in the next day or so, all the information will be uploaded, so you'll be able to view this again and save it to your computer then.
Oh, cool. Can I get the link for SlideShare?
Yes, absolutely.
Just kidding.
It'll all be posted on all the social networks as soon as it's uploaded. Cool. Okay, the next question. This is a great question. Should we be looking for other friends in companies or just veterans?
Oh, it's always any friend. I sense this audience, there's such an incredible bond with veterans I've seen. I use that to focus on, but you know, for you, you went to high school, you went to college, you have neighbors. It should be anyone that might be able to help you. One of my favorite friend stories is I got my first job years ago. I was in college and visited my parents. The neighbor had a UPS box. My mom had it. I delivered it. The neighbor's wife was there. Her husband was the general manager of Holiday Inn. I got that job as a maintenance man, making $4.50 an hour. So I just aged myself. But you know, bottom line here is that was just a neighbor's husband. He never knew me. He just said, "Oh yeah, I know the parents, and must be a good kid. Let me put him down." So, moral of the story, you know, anyone that can help you with your job search. Veterans have a certain good bond with each other, so that can expand it. But that's how you can, you know, that's one way to find someone. College, any sort of relationship. It's always about finding commonality. They could go to your same church. They could be from your same fraternity, sorority. They could be in some sort of other social group, social activity, what have you.
Yeah, this follow-up question from Joe, when you refer to friends, whom exactly are you referring to? I think that's a great way to answer it. Just any connection who could help you, anybody who's connected to you in your life, whether it's through a social activity, friends, family, previous employers, anyone who would be open to helping you. That's who Sudi's referring to when he's talking about connecting with friends on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, and actually the word friend is a tough one because Facebook uses the word friends and LinkedIn uses connections. So friends, when you don't think of social, you think that you actually know each other. And I think that's how Facebook started. Obviously, many of us say, geez, I have all these people that I don't know who they are. So that's the tough word is when they say friend, I'm referring to the social aspect of it, the social media aspect of it, even though you may not know them, but many times someone will be able to help you if you are able to relate to a common link.
Exactly. And in answer to a question from Brian, he asked, will we be sent the PowerPoint so we can apply what we've learned today? There will be a follow-up email that will be sent out either later today or tomorrow. It will have the links to this webinar recorded on YouTube. It will have a link to the PowerPoint, on SlideShare and all the information you need. So yes, you will have access to all this information. A question from Michael. This is for Sudi. Do you recommend the premium upgrade for LinkedIn?
That's a tough one. So, you know, initially I'd always say not yet. It really depends on the way I've coached people is get ready for that premium because, you know, it's a monthly subscription and there's various levels. So if you don't have enough connections, try to build your network to get some good connections. Usually what the premium does is it lets you send a note to those that you're not connected to. So if you're having trouble reaching people, then that would be one reason. If the other thing the premium does is it gives you more search results. So one example is if you're searching for like those 731 veterans at AT&T, normally LinkedIn for free gives you 100 results for free, which going through 100 names can be challenging for all of us. But if you find that I've worked through them all and I want more and I know I can leverage them, that may be where the premium results are good as well because then you're going to get 300 for the next level. So I would say those would be the purposes, but don't do it blindly. Do it when you know you can leverage it. And I look at it as a 1 month thing where you might just say, great, for 29 bucks, 19 bucks, whatever the level you're at, I'm going to be able to do these 50 different send emails. I'm going to be able to do these things. But if I don't have 50 names, if I don't have my targets, then I'm going to waste it. So I would say no immediately unless you know how you can take advantage of it. And you can take advantage of it by using emails, by getting more search results, and by getting access to different people. Hope that wasn't too confusing.
No, that was very clear. I agree. I agree with that because it's a lot sometimes to pay for premium all the time, but when you know how to utilize it, it can be very advantageous.
Yeah, you know, I sometimes make a mistake in using military analogies, but hey, just plan and take your shot.
Exactly. Oh, here's a great question from Clifton. He asked, how do you connect with people that you just met in passing without seeming creepy? That's a great question.
Now, okay, when you say met in passing, and that happens to me all the time, so if you met them, if Clifton, can you give me an example? I love to do it this way. I hate giving generics, so if Clifton can, I can't see the questions, but if Clifton can even indicate how you met them, that'd be great. I'd love to see that because I get those all the time. And typical one I met is, Sudi, great meeting you last night at the New Year's Eve party. Would love to network with you more about further opportunities. Like, thanks for the discussion. Great meeting you on the airplane. You know, in the interest of professional networking, I'd love to connect with you. So I think
here he answered. He said, I met a retired chief at a school choir performance. Oh, that's very interesting.
Oh, so hopefully, in theory, your kids or you performed. So what a great, I mean, the subject of the email or the note should be, what a great choir performance, or great meeting you at last night's choir performance. That should be the subject. Then, Chief Smith, wonderful running into you. Our daughters, granddaughters, maybe for the chief, were lovely. Please accept my request to connect with you on LinkedIn. Always has to be a relate, find something in common, articulate it, relate to it, and then make your request. 3 steps.
Perfect. I'm going to answer this question from John. He asks, due to my going back to school for my master's degree, I'm looking for jobs. Are there any jobs in the Indianapolis area? This is an answer for John and for anyone else who knows exactly what kind of job they're looking for. You can go directly to the job board at RecruitMilitary.com and search for the specific type of job you want in addition to the location, and it will return to you lists of all available jobs that we have posted there. If you're having difficulty doing that yourself, you can email me at lwheeler@recruitmilitary.com, and I can help you get started there. There are a lot of job requests in the comments right now. Moving on to another LinkedIn-related question. This one's from Daryl. He asked, you focus much on LinkedIn. Do you recommend other sites like Facebook?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's interesting because sometimes people ask me that, and I just have to ask them, If you're comfortable with Facebook or other sites in your job search, then that's great. Some people are very adamant, I'm not going to do Facebook for job search. It's LinkedIn only. I don't want anyone in my personal. And that's fine. So use Facebook. I mean, the veterans that I deal with on Facebook are just numerous veterans on Facebook. I'm friends with 4,000 friends on Facebook, and anytime one of my good friends posts something, a picture of his grandchild, he gets 110 likes and comments and everything. So Facebook is just as valid. But I will put out a word of interest and caution is please realize that anything on Facebook can be public. Facebook occasionally changes its policy. It used to be whatever you put, anyone saw. Now it's whatever you put, you can private and public and make sure only a certain number of people can see it. But if you make a mistake and post something you don't want out there, you just want to have to be careful. One of my funny stories is I had a great job seeker on LinkedIn, a paralegal, great profile, very professional picture. She sent me an email through Gmail, which connected with her Google Plus account, which grabbed her Google Plus picture, which was very personal. You know, in one hand she had a cigarette, in the other hand she had a beer, and apparently she had three hands because she had something in her other hand that that she shouldn't have had. And that was an email sent to me, and I said, well, why'd you do that? Well, that's my personal email. That's how I do job search. Then she goes, but that's my personal email. They shouldn't see that. Well, they did. So again, you know, anytime you want to do anything like that, you just want to be careful. So that's why some people don't want Facebook, but I always caution you, even if you don't want Facebook, please keep your social profiles across all your networks as professional, as clean as you can.
This question is from Brian. He asks, my military affiliation does not show up in my pedigree. How can I make that more relevant, even though my military service was 10 years ago?
That's a good one. So I would actually put that in your headline. So you can say based on your current career or job aspiration, but you can also say retired or, you know, U.S. Marine or whatever your branch was right in your headline, and that actually gets searched.
Great advice. We are running out of time, so there's just one last question from James, and Sudhi, you're going to love this one. He asked, what is your favorite Iron Maiden song?
Oh boy, it's Aces High, the Winston Churchill speech.
Great answer. Yeah, that's a very popular one in the chat right now too.
Exactly.
A lot of people like that one.
Yeah, can everyone else indicate what their favorite Iron Maiden song is?
All right, that's going to wrap up the question and answer. We thank you for joining us today. We will be hosting more of these webinars in the future, so let us know what you think, what you want to hear more about, and whether this webinar was helpful to you. In the meantime, best of luck at our job fairs, on our job boards, on Jackalope Jobs, and in revamping your LinkedIn profile. Be sure to register and create a profile on RecruitMilitary.com and on JackalopeJobs.com. Also, be sure to connect with Sudhi and me on LinkedIn and with Recruit Military on Facebook and on our website. If you have any further questions, feel free to email either Sudhi or myself, and we will be sending a follow-up email with this presentation in the next day or two. Hope everyone has a great day, and thank you again for attending.